I was standing in my own driveway, barefoot on the cold concrete, a cup of coffee warming my hands, when the sound of sirens cut through the quiet morning. At first, my heart jumped. You don't hear sirens like that in a place this calm, unless something's wrong. But then the police car slowed, turned and stopped, right in front of my house. And that's when I saw her, Sharon Delaney, standing just behind it, arms folded, chin slightly raised. Like she'd already decided how this was going to end. She's blocking a shared access route, she told the officers, pointing straight at me, like I didn't even belong there. She refuses to move. For a second, I actually laughed. Because the thing she was pointing at? That driveway? I built it, every inch of it, paid for it, but permitted it. Approved by the county. And by the HOA themselves. This wasn't confusion. This was something else. The officers walked up, calm and professional, asked a few questions, checked their system, and within minutes, they gave her the answer she clearly wasn't ready for. This is her private driveway, ma'am. You could feel the shift in the air. That should have been the end of it. But Sharon didn't move, didn't apologize, didn't even blink. She just stared at me, eyes sharp, jaw tight, and said quietly, like a warning wrapped in a promise, "This isn't over." And in that moment, I knew this wasn't about a driveway. This was about control. And what happened in the next 24 hours didn't just prove her wrong, it destroyed everything she thought she had. If you want to hear more true stories like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button too, HOA, Gone Wild. And tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? I moved to Silver Ridge Hollow, Colorado, about 2 years ago, right after my divorce. I wasn't chasing anything big or impressive. I just wanted quiet, a place where I could breathe without feeling watched or judged. Somewhere I could start over without carrying the weight of everything behind me. The house wasn't perfect, but it felt right. It sat a little off from the main road, tucked into a stretch of land that felt private enough to be mine. There was only one problem, though, access. There wasn't a real driveway, just a narrow dirt path that turned into a muddy mess every time it rained. The first week I moved in, my car nearly got stuck trying to get out after a storm. That's when I knew I had to fix it properly, and I did everything the right way. I hired a licensed contractor, filed permits with the county, submitted detailed plans to the HOA. I waited for approvals, followed every requirement, paid every fee. It wasn't cheap, and it wasn't fast, but after 3 months, I had a solid gravel driveway running clean from the road, straight to my property. And here's the important part. The HOA signed off on it, not just approved it. They actually praised it. I still remember the email. Something about enhancing community value and setting a good standard for property development. At the time, it felt like a win, like I had done things the right way and earned a little respect for it. That's why what came later didn't just feel wrong. It felt unreal. About a year after everything was finished, Sharon Delaney moved in next door. You could tell immediately she wasn't the kind of person who blended in. She arrived like she already owned the place. Perfect lawn within days. Always dressed like she had somewhere important to be, even when she didn't. At first, it was just little things. Comments that didn't quite cross a line, but hovered right on the edge of it. You parked a little too close to the edge there. Trash bins are supposed to be pulled in by evening. You might want to check the community guidelines again. I brushed it off. People like that exist everywhere. As long as it stayed small, I didn't care. But it didn't stay small. It grew. The comments turned into patterns. The patterns turned into attention, and that attention started to feel targeted. She watched everything. Not casually, not like a neighbor just noticing things, more like someone keeping records. Then one afternoon, she knocked on my door, not casually, not friendly, sharp, direct, like she had something official to deliver. When I opened it, she was holding a printed notice. "You're using a shared access route without HOA authorization?" she said, without even saying hello. I just stared at her for a second, trying to process what she had just said. "I'm sorry." "What, that driveway?" she said, pointing past me. "It connects near community land. That makes it partially shared. You don't have exclusive rights." For a moment, I thought she was joking. Then I realized she wasn't. I stepped outside, walked her over, and showed her everything. The structure, the boundary lines, the documents I had saved, every approval, every permit, every signature. "This is private," I told her calmly. It was reviewed and approved before it was built. She didn't even glance at the paperwork. Not once. Instead, she folded her arms and said something that instantly changed the tone of everything. Things change. I felt something tighten in my chest. "What does that mean?" I asked. "It means," she said, her voice flat and certain, "new rules get enforced." There was no discussion, no explanation, no attempt to understand, just authority, the kind that doesn't ask, the kind that assumes. And that's when I felt it for the first time. Not confusion, not irritation, pressure, the kind that sits quietly at first, but doesn't go away. I closed the door after she left. But something about that conversation stayed with me. It didn't feel like a misunderstanding. It felt like a warning. And within a week, the letters started coming. The first letter showed up folded neatly in my mailbox, stamped with the HOA seal, like it meant something official, something final. It was labeled a courtesy warning. According to it, I was improperly utilizing a shared access structure and needed to bring usage into compliance. I read it twice. Then a third time, it didn't make sense, but I still told myself maybe it was just paperwork, confusion. Maybe Sharon had filed something incorrectly. Maybe this would clear up if I gave it a little time. It didn't. Dice 3 days later. The second letter arrived. This one didn't feel like a courtesy. It had a fine attached, not a huge amount, but enough to make a point. Enough to say, we're serious now. That's when the irritation started to turn into something heavier. Because fines don't come from misunderstandings. They come from decisions. And by the time the third letter came, there was no pretending anymore. Failure to comply will result in restricted access enforcement. I just stared at that line. Restrict access to my own property. That's when I felt it shift inside me. This wasn't a mistake. This was pressure building. Every letter was signed the same way. Asterisk, asterisk, Sharon Delaney. HOA compliance. Coordinator, asterisk, asterisk, coordinator. So now she had a title. That explained the confidence. That explained the tone. But it didn't explain how any of this was legal. So I decided to go straight to the source. I drove to the HOA office that afternoon. Every document I had neatly organized in a folder beside me. Approvals, permits, emails, dates, proof. The office itself was quiet, almost too quiet. The kind of place where everything feels controlled. Like nothing ever happens there unless it's already been decided somewhere else. I walked up to the front desk and set the folder down. I built my driveway legally, I said, keeping my voice steady. You approved it. I have all the documents here. The woman behind the desk didn't even fully look at me. She glanced at the folder like it was just another piece of clutter. If the compliance office issued a notice, she said flatly, it stands. That was it. No curiosity, no effort to verify anything. Just a wall. I took a breath, trying to stay calm. Then I need to see the rules being enforced, I said. The updated ones? She hesitated for half a second, then reached under the desk and pulled out a printed packet. That was the moment everything started to feel wrong. Not just unfair. Wrong. I took the packet home and spread everything out across my kitchen table. Page by page. I went through it carefully, and the more I looked, the more it didn't add up. The formatting was inconsistent. Some sections used one font, others used something slightly different. The numbering jumped in places. Certain clauses looked new or cleaner, like they had been inserted later. And the dates didn't line up with anything I had on record. I pulled out my original HOA approval documents, placed them side by side, compared line by line. They didn't match, not even close. The entire sections were different. Language had been changed. New rules had appeared where there had been none before. And the worst part, there was no record of any official update process, no meeting notes, no resident notifications. Nothing. I sat there for a long time, just staring at the papers. Because this wasn't just aggressive enforcement anymore. This was something deeper. Something structured. The next morning, I went straight to Sharon. She was outside, standing near her car, scrolling through her phone like she had nowhere else to be. Where did these updates come from? I asked, holding the packet in my hand. She looked up slowly. Not surprised. Not defensive. Just calm. To calm. You shouldn't have read the updated guidelines, she said. Her tone wasn't sharp. It was worse than that. It was dismissive. Like this conversation didn't matter. I never received any updates, I said, my voice tightening despite myself. There was no notice, no vote, nothing. She gave a small shrug. That's not my problem. That sentence hit harder than anything else, because it told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't about rules. It wasn't about order. It wasn't even about the driveway. This was about control. And she wasn't worried about being right. She was comfortable being untouchable. I stood there for a moment, waiting.